not know me, my name is Lizy Hoeffer, and I am a loan officer with Guild Mortgage. I have been a loan officer for 15 years, but the last 5 years of my career I've been in the top 1% in the country. My team closes over 600 loans last year, and we're on pace to close about 1,000 this year. So I can tell you that time management is essential in my business, okay? And time management makes you more productive, and when you're more productive, you can concentrate on dollar-producing activities that in a down market where the rest of my competition is down 30% with market compression, interest rate compression, all kinds of craziness, we're having one of our best years ever. Okay, and that's because we're not focusing on all of the wrong things. Okay. So one big thing that I want to dispel right now, so I marketed this class as a time management class. Okay. But that's kind of like an urban legend. There's no way to manage time. We're all allotted the same number of minutes, hours, days, years, etc. What this really is about is task management. Okay, would you all agree with me? Mm-hmm. And what I think you guys are here for today is to learn how to manage your tasks and get the most effective productivity out of your days. Am I correct? Okay, is there anything that you guys came here to learn today? I'm going to write a list so that I don't not cover something if it was like very, very important to you. Okay? Everyone shy, or you're just gonna like roll with what I say? Okay.
Rolling.
Love it. Okay. So the biggest thing, guys, I've been to a ton of seminars, I've been to a ton of coaching programs, a ton of things. I think I have spent more money on learning how to be an effective leader, effective salesperson over the last 12 years out of my 15-year career. And one of the big things, the big takeaways, is every single time management always involves like 3 months of tracking everything you do before you can really get anywhere. And I don't know about you, but I always start with, okay, that type of activity, and somewhere along the line I forget to track my time. It doesn't seem like a big priority, and I never really get anywhere. Has that happened to any of you? Okay. So I started researching this at the end of last year because I noticed that if I wanted to hit bigger goals, I was going to end up having to do more activities. And I thought, Jesus, I don't know if I can do any more activities. There's like one Lizy and she's already working 80 hours a week. Okay, I can work 100 hours a week, but I feel like I might die. Okay, so I got to this point and I said, okay, well, am I getting enough leads, yes or no? Okay, am I spending my time in the right areas, yes or no? Okay, and then I started researching the science behind when we do things. Okay, and that's where I want to start this class. Okay, so these are very nerdy things, but I want to teach you about them because if you understand them, you will make better decisions. Okay, so first things first, we all need to understand our personal patterns. Okay, so all of us are considered one of 3 categories, okay? And these are specific based upon your circadian rhythms. Are all of you familiar with what a circadian rhythm is? Okay? So that's the, poor thing. So that is the natural pattern for how we wake up, right, when we get tired, and when we recover, okay? So you're either a morning person, okay? You're a night owl. Have you guys heard of those 2 things? Okay? Or you're what's called a third bird, okay? Something in between, okay? And how they define this, guys, so you're going to write this down because this is going to matter, okay, is a morning person. So how you want to track this, guys, is the midpoint between when you go to sleep and when you wake up. So if you go to sleep at 10 p.m. and you wake up every morning at 6 a.m., right, you're going to count the midpoint, the mid-hour between those 2 time frames, okay? So take a second, write down when you go to bed and when you usually wake up. Okay, so if you're a morning person, your midpoint is somewhere between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Okay? You are 14% of the population. Okay? Fun fact though, the older you get, the more of a morning person you become. Okay. If you are a late night person, your midpoint is 6 a.m. to noon, and you make up 21% of the population. Okay. Third birds are anywhere between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. Okay. The majority of the population is in this category. Okay. Now, why is this important? Okay. Would you be surprised to learn that anesthesiologists and surgeons commit 3 times the amount of errors that result in patient deaths in the later part of the day? Okay. There's a lower percentage of cancerous tumors detected in the afternoon. Okay. The highest percentage of car accidents occur at between 2 and 4 p.m. The highest profit sharing and money-making calls that CEOs do are first thing in the morning. Okay, so those are the best companies with the highest profitabilities. They get the best scores on all their earning projections first thing in the morning. And statistics show that people will keep their morning commitments over their afternoon commitments. Okay, would you be surprised to know those things? Okay. Okay. It's scary, and there's all kinds of things like standardized testings for the same students score better in the morning than they do in the afternoon. Okay, so you just have to realize that if, depending on who you are as a person, your decision making is better in different parts of the day. Okay, so pairing your tasks at the right time can have a 20% variance in performance. Okay, so if you're doing the things at the wrong time, it can impact 20%. Now, if you're a surgeon, right, 20% is a lot of numbers. You don't want to be in 20%, right? Okay, when I read that, I'm like, for real, I'm only going to the doctor in the morning. Okay, that's true talk. Okay, now people typically have a cycle anywhere between 90 minutes to 120 minutes of productivity. Write that down. Okay. So 90 minutes to 120 minutes. You can only be productive for that length of time. Okay? Now that's going to vary for people with, you know, special needs or lots of distractions, but you can only be concentrating on one thing for 90 minutes. Okay? When you get interrupted, it takes you 15 minutes to get refocused. Okay? So 15 minutes to get refocused. So experts suggest, right, that instead of tracking your activities, right, every 90 minutes you should set an alarm, and you need to ask yourself these things. On a scale of 1 to 10, how alert do you feel? And how physically energetic? And on a scale of 1 to 10, you need to rank the results of the activity that you were doing. All kinds of distractions. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, I promise you if you know the science, this is going to make a whole lot more sense in a few minutes. Okay? So you're going to rate yourselves on how alert you feel on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, how energetic you still feel. Right, so alert is how well can you make a decision? How fast are your reflexes? Okay, and energy is, right, how you feel. And then the next thing is, on a scale of 1 to 10, rank the results of the activity that you were doing. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like I knocked it out of the ballpark, I'm a 9 on what I just did. Okay? So to make the most of your chronotype, so chronotype was the morning bird, the late owl, what is it?
Night owl.
Night owl, there we go. And third bird. Sorry, I always forget the night owl because clearly I'm not one. And so here's how it works, guys. So throughout your day, you're going to have a peak, a trough, and a recovery period. Okay? Your peak is when you're at your optimal decision-making time. Okay? The majority of the world is the most happy and the most ready to make a commitment first thing in the morning. Okay? So that's the majority of the world. Okay? So this is an important thing to know, guys, because if you're a night owl and the majority of the world is going to be happy and making their decisions early in the morning, you have to be aware of that and you have to combat those things, right? So you're going to have to figure out how you're going to be productive in a time period where you're typically in your crankiest mood. Okay? So write this down. So your peak is when your attitude is at its best. Your trough, and how you spell that, because I do not know how you spell that, okay, is T-R-O-U-G-H. This is when your mood declines. It peaks at 3 p.m. So actually at 2:55 is the technical, okay? So it peaks. This is when you are the most unhappy and the most unproductive. And it actually, they've studied this throughout every culture, every country in the entire world. That statistic on car accidents is universal too. Every country in the entire world has the most car accidents between this time. Okay, it's because people are not paying attention and not making good decisions. Okay?
That's probably why when social media
Increases. Okay? Your recovery period is when your mood typically boosts back up. Okay? But you are less likely to make a firm commitment during this time. Okay? You're more social, you're more creative, right? So how many of you guys do your prospecting between 4 and 6? Okay? Statistically, on the MTA, or there's a MIT survey that says that between 4 and 6 is the highest time when you'll get people to pick up the phone. Okay? Now, that's because people are more social and they're more willing to pick up the phone, and they're probably friendlier because they're in their recovery time. Okay? Here's the bad part about that. You'll reach more people, but they're going to be flakier. So how many of you have ever called a lead, been super excited, had an awesome conversation, and they never picked up the phone again? Oh, come on, I can't be the only person. Give me a break. Okay, cool. Right? So that happens, right? So, but if you need something from somebody and you call them first thing in the morning and they give you a firm commitment, they are 80% more likely to keep that commitment because they don't change their minds, because they're fresh, you've got them, they're paying attention, and they've made a clear decision. Okay? So, for me, once I learned this, I changed my prospecting time to first thing in the morning. Okay? Because I want people, and I also made my appointments first thing in the morning. Okay? So I try to have coffee meetings now at 10 a.m. because I know people will more likely keep that appointment. Okay? How many of you start your day off with emails? Raise your hands. Be honest. Okay. Here's the problem with emails. They take a lot of decision-making time. Okay? And I truly believe that we only have so much willpower in a day. And willpower is a muscle. And this is a true thing. There is something called a question quota. You can only answer so many questions and make so many decisions in one day. Okay, so if you start your day off with emails and you just tackle all those questions and all those things, you're being super reactive, okay, and you're wasting your best brain power on the least money-making generating activity. Okay? So, if you do anything, right, if you get one nugget from this entire class, do your highest money-making activity first thing in the morning. Okay? If you are a third bird or a morning bird, okay? An early bird, right? Those are the two things. Now, if you are somebody who is a night owl, right, who gets their best creativity and their best productivity at the nighttime, first thing in the morning is not your best time to be making phone calls, okay? You're straight up not your nicest self, okay? You probably detest mornings. Not the best time to prospect, okay? Not the best time to book an appointment. So for you, your prospecting better be between 4 and 6, okay? Because here's the deal. They might not be the freshest, but you will. So your converting skills are going to be higher, okay? The level of aggressiveness is going to be higher, right? Your level of follow-through is going to be higher, okay? So if you're an early bird, it's 8 to 10. Those are your prospecting hours, okay? If you're a third bird, it's 8 to 10 or 8:30 to 10:30 whenever you get to the office, right? Because you don't wake up as early, okay? And if you are a night owl, it's 4 to 6. Those are your best prospecting times. Okay, now, here's an important thing. Okay, you always have to have breaks throughout the day. Okay, so remember when I said you have 90 minutes worth of productivity. Okay, it's very helpful and essential for your brain to take a break. How many of you actually take breaks? Raise your hand. Okay? I never used to take breaks. I was the person who always ate lunch at her desk. Okay? I never had any time. Okay? And what happens is you're actually less and less productive when you don't rest your brain. And if you can take a 10-minute nap after lunch, you're like way, way, way better off. Okay? So here's how it goes. 90 minutes of productivity, get up and walk around. Okay? 90 minutes of productivity, right? Get up and walk around. Okay? Take a lunch, take a 10-minute nap, okay? And then keep that same cycle. At 2:55, because I know it's the area where my team is going to be the most negative and the most unproductive and the worst, I have what's called a red zone meeting. Okay? Right?
At what time?
At 2:55. Okay? When I know they're going to be the most distracted, the most negative, the worst mood ever, because you know why I'm doing that? I want to break it up. Okay? And I want to get them some social camaraderie. I want to get them, to hear the results. And so we focus on results. How many leads came in that day? How many appointments did we book? Right? What's our month-to-date conversion rate? Okay? How many contracts did we get? How many closings did we have today? Right? What's on the plan for tomorrow? Okay? How many appointments do we have booked? Right? How many follow-ups do we need to do? How many things, right? And so they break this up. I have everyone write their notes. Everyone claps. Everyone's cheering. People who haven't met their commitments. And we'll talk about this a little bit later. We say, okay, you didn't hit your commitment. When are you going to when are you going to get this done? Okay? And what do you need from us to help you get it done? Okay? So that's how that meeting goes, right? At the end of it, they've had some social interaction. It broke up their day, and they're ready to refocus again. Okay? And I do that because right at like 4 o'clock, people start entering their recovery period, right? They see it's almost time to leave. Their edge starts releasing, right? They start feeling good again. And here's when they get negative again. Traffic. Right? How many of you have road rage? Okay, that's an actual statistic. Okay, people are the most unhappy because they have no control. Okay? So, if you want to reduce your road rage, give yourself something to do, like make some phone calls. Okay? Listen to an audiobook, right? Be creative. In your recovery period, guys, so when it starts at 4, this is when you're going to be the most creative. Can you make decisions? No. Okay? Do not make big life decisions during this time. But you'll start, so when your brain gets tired, it doesn't mean it stops working. It just means it starts doing other things. How many of you had like an amazing idea right before you go to bed? Right? It's because your brain's in the creativity mode. So I tend to work on my marketing stuff right around this time. Okay? So like what kinds of stuff do I want to see? What things happen in my day? Like what things can I be marketing on, right? And I write a list of blog titles. Okay? So I don't write blogs because my brain's fried, but I write a list of marketing ideas, and then I have folders for all of my big impactful areas. Okay? So I put them in my marketing folder, and then we'll get to this in a second when I go back and review those things. Okay? So for you guys, so if you're an early bird, right, we're going to start with our highest dollar producing activities first thing in the morning. Okay? We're going to take multiple breaks, and if you can, take a 10-minute nap. Now, if you can't nap for 10 minutes, meditate. Okay? That's what I mean by a nap. Okay? Shut everything off and try not to have any thoughts. Okay? And then you're going to break it up at some sort of review the results meeting, even if you're the only person on your team, at what time?
2:55.
You guys are paying attention. I'm so excited. Okay. So, couple key takeaways we just did. And great. So now we're on. So does anybody have any questions about that particular area about the science? Okay. So now we're on to task management, and then this is an activity I want us to go through. It's called priority pairing. Okay. So, right, so now we know when we're going to do what. Okay. So now, what's on the list? Okay. How many of you guys have teams here? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you want a team? Okay, how many of you are on a team? Okay, cool. All right, so here's a couple things, right? Take a few seconds, and this is good timing because this buzzer is going along, and I need you to write for me in life, right, your top 5 priorities. Okay, so for me, it's God, my family, my business, team building, and my health, in that order. Okay. Health should probably be earlier on the list, but if I'm being really honest, it's not. Okay. Darn, that didn't go off for long enough. How are we doing? Did everyone get theirs? Need a second? Some of you aren't looking up. I need a nod. Yeah? Okay. So here's the next to do, okay? Because I had you write down 1, right? And here's the next actionable step. If your calendar does not reflect these items, that's your next to do, okay? If you do not prioritize yourself, prioritize your families, prioritize time to be spiritual, it just will not happen. I promise you, you can find so many things to fill your time, and we always, even though we value these things the most, right, we prioritize them the least. Okay? You will have a happier, more productive business if you spend some time on who? And who else? Your families. Okay? How many of it, I mean, for me, I've always had a ton of guilt, okay? I've always been the type of person who works 60 to 80 hours. You know, I drove all of my kids to work, every single one of them. Okay, I was the girl that everyone's like, what's that noise in the background? It's like, oh, it's my breast pump, don't worry about that. Anyway, let's go, right? That has always been me, okay? So here's the deal, until I got this down, right, I never was productive, and I always felt guilty, and I always had all these other subconscious things that took me away from really dedicating it, right? Like I was making the extra hour going, come on, hurry up and get off the phone, say yes, I've got to go, I got to get to my house, my people are pissed, right? Right, so just make sure that you prioritize this first, otherwise you're going to learn hard lessons, okay? So I had my daughter, this is a freaking true story, no joke, imitate me, right? She was trying to be like, I want to be just like mommy, and I said, oh, what does mommy do? She goes, hi, this is Lizy Hoeffer. Okay, right? Wake up call. Okay, so, and you're laughing because you know it's you too. Okay, right? The finger. I was like, ooh.
It's worse than that.
Right. So just know that. Okay. So here's how the rest of your percentages should go. Okay. So 50% of your time should be in money-producing activities.
50 or 50?
50, 50. Okay. 20% of your time should be coaching or training or refining your systems. Okay, so if you're a team leader, right, you need to spend 20% of your time making the people around you better. Okay, if you don't have a team, this is time to put your stuff in writing so that when you have a team, they're more productive. Okay, and they're successful. The worst thing is having an assistant start and not knowing what they should do. Okay, and then having to spend time putting this all in writing when you needed them yesterday. Okay. Then 20% of your time should be on planning for the future, right? Planning marketing activities, improving your gifting program, right? Reviewing the numbers and analytics, right? Projecting, correcting. And then 10% of your time should be spent on administrative tasks, like checking your email and your voicemail. Okay? The majority of us spend most of our time there, right? Because we don't know what to do. And email will tell you what to do, right? But if you concentrate 100% on email, let me tell you, eventually those stop because you have no clients. Okay? And that's a hard truth. So, now you wrote down your 5 priorities. I need you now to write down, and we're going to do what's called priority pairing. So this is an activity that I do regularly, right? I do it once a day. Sometimes it's every other day, depending on like the things that I have carrying over. But the 5 areas that have the most impact on your business. Okay? So things that you need to do. So here's an example. Okay? In my business, I have sales, operations, customer service, technology, and marketing. So write down what you got. So for you guys, it's probably listings, buyer appointments, right? Your past client campaign, your prospecting systems, right? Operations probably is one of them. Okay. You have to spend an hour each week on each one of those things. Okay? So depending on how many impact areas, I only had 5, but there are some people and companies that have like 12 or 14. Okay? So depending, so I spend 5 hours a week in meetings that go over this stuff. Okay? So I'm answering questions, I'm reviewing, and every single meeting, write this down, has an agenda and a time limit allotted to it. How many of you have meetings with your team with no agenda? Be honest. Raise your hands. All of you guys have agendas? That's like a first time. Let me tell you, most people just fly by the seat of their pants. They kind of have some ideas on what they're working on, right? But they never have time limit, they never stick to the time limit, and they're really unfocused. Okay? So they always have to have an agenda. They always have to be results focused, and they always have to have to-dos after the fact. Okay? So you should be meeting to find out, hey, here's the plan. How's the plan working? What do we need to do to follow up on the plan? Okay? So they need to know what the plan is, right? So how is the plan doing? Okay? Here are the follow-ups for the plan. And everything has to have a deadline. Okay. So before we get into priority pairing, I want to go over rules of task management, okay? Now, if this is something that's really, really important to you, before you leave, I just want you to give me your email address, and I'm going to send you these steps. But if you want to write them down, okay? Here are my rules. There's something called a 2-minute rule, okay? And this is how I live my life. I read it in a book 6 years ago by David Allen called Getting Things Done, okay? And this was a very long book, and this is the only thing I remember. Okay, but let me tell you, it was super impactful. Okay, so here's how the 2-minute rule works. Okay, you get something. If you can do it in 2 minutes or less, do it now. Okay, if you can't, you delegate it, you delete it, right, or you file it away for reference. Okay, so sometimes I get a really good marketing opportunity. If it's not time for marketing, I file it away in my marketing folder and I revisit it during my creativity time. Okay, right? Now, if it's, Lizzie, can you have this rate lock conversation, right? If I know the client is not long-winded and I can get them on the phone right away, I'm going to make that call immediately. Okay? If I know that that person has 2 hours worth of questions, right? Because I have those, we're going to go ahead and schedule a time to call them back. Okay? So you always take action. Okay? Here's the big mistake that people get. They get something thrown on their desk and they feel overwhelmed, and instead of taking action on it, they say, I'm going to get back to it later. Let me tell you, it takes you 15 minutes on average to make that decision, which results in 97 hours of wasted time with no action. 97 hours a year, 0 action. Okay? So, we're going to always take action. So that's step number 1. Touch it once. Okay? Step number 2 is make a list of your to-dos. Okay? And that's priority pairing. We're going to go over that, okay? Plan how long you'll spend on each item is step number 3. And remember your calendar rules, right? You got 10% of time to allot to administrative activities. Okay, so this means that you're going to have to eliminate your subscriptions and put them to later. So I deleted all of my subscription emails, okay, because they were taking up my time. I also delete all of the alerts. So like any of the market alerts I get, I deleted them because I always want to look at them. And my team hates this. They can't email me. All of their emails go to my trash. That's a fact, right? So like there's a lot of rumors that I don't check emails. I don't read their emails, okay, because I have times allotted for it. And I am BCC'd or copied on all these things. Like how many of you guys have been copied accidentally on, and this for you title people, this is at you guys, okay? They're trying to balance a CD with the real, like the loan officer teams, okay? And there's like 26 emails, but you're CC'd to all of them. And some of them are like, thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. Okay?
You like it so much.
Yes. So I don't read any of those. And here's the deal. If I'm in an email change in communication and the subject changes, I change the subject line to the email every time. So if we change topics, right, so we were talking about the Brown funding, but now we've switched over to the Smith funding, I changed the subject to Smith funding. You know why? Because if I ever have to reference it, I don't want to have to go through 15 emails of Brown fundings to find the email information for the Smith funding. Okay? So I can tell you, I know for a fact that you guys, not all of you do that. It's very helpful when referencing activities. The other thing is, I typically delete most of my emails every day, right? So I'm trying to clear that inbox. I have never once not been able to locate information on an email that I deleted.
Really?
Because so many people are copied on it and so many people can send it right back to you. Okay? I promise you, we like hoard email, and actually this is a fact, 80% of information that is filed is never referenced again. Okay? In 16 years of doing business, I have never once regretted deleting an email. Right? Now, I've been stressed about it for 5 minutes before I figured out how to get it back. Right? But I've never, ultimately, I always got it back. Okay?
Well, even if you have an email and then you reply to it, it's in your sent, so you delete it out of your inbox, you can still get it back.
Like I said, a million ways to get that email back. Right? So I agree with that, right? Great tip. She's a pro. Okay, so then, when will you dedicate time for your impact areas? Okay, so we said we've delegated, marketing, expenses, whatever, right? When is the time? When are you lotting that out? Okay, and then you have to pay attention to results. So every time you have an impact area, if you're not concentrating on the results of the project that you're working on, it's wasted time. Okay, because if we're not making traction somewhere, right, we're guessing. Right? And I don't know about you, I always constantly make tweaks to my business because a lot of the things that I experiment on and try and think are going to be the world's best idea sometimes don't have the best results. Okay? So always focus on results. And here's the deal. When you have a to-do list, right, we focus on just crossing the item out. Okay? But we never actually qualify, like, did this go well? Yes or no? Okay? I left a voicemail for John Smith, but you never spoke to him. That's not a crossed off item, right? But it feels good to cross it out. How many of you guys write actions that you didn't have on your to-do list just to cross them off? Okay, it feels good, okay? But we gotta pay attention to results, okay? And the next thing you have to ask yourself and be real, right? So this is that thing with the emails. Will it hurt you to throw it away or not be involved in it? Okay? Like, we all have a little bit of FOMO, going on. We have to, really decide, is it valid or not, right? All those subscriptions, I was having a hard time, so I was like, what if the market is a disaster? You know what I mean? Like, what if something catastrophic happens? You know, all these things. It's like that stuff is so rare. And if you have times when you set to go look at them, you'll catch it. Okay? But it doesn't need to be disrupting you all day long. So how many of you still have your email and Facebook and all that stuff alerts on your phone? Okay? This is an action item. Take them off. Okay? So, guys, this was a really powerful quote that I read, and I put it here because I really feel like this changed it for me. Human behavior can only be impacted two ways: repetition and direct involvement. Okay, so when we make changes, a lot of times we want to delegate, or we try it for like 2 days and it's hard, so we like give up on it. So we got to focus on this for 21 days before we actually feel the results. Okay, and that's what commits us to change. Okay, so this is actually called mindfulness training. So part of the focusing on the results is mindfulness training. I want you to train yourself to feel excited about this. Okay, I'm going to relate this to real life because I think it's easier to explain to you guys. But so I hate working out, like more than most people, I think. And in order to continue to work out, I have to concentrate on little things. Like, oh, my arm doesn't look so flabby today, that's cool. Right? Oh, it looks even less flabby today, I'm so excited. Right? Or, oh, I went 2 minutes longer than I did yesterday. Right? That keeps it going. Right? And so when you have a mental distraction like, this isn't worth it, or this is overwhelming, if you focus on the little wins all the time, it'll be that cookie you need to keep going. Okay? We all need cookies. Okay? Oh, chocolate ones, yeah. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go into priority pairing. Okay? So your to-do list, guys, should never be more than 6 items. Okay? That's going to freak some of you out, right? Because I just told you to write a list and you came up with 22 things. Okay? This happens. But your to-do list should never be more than 6 items. When you have 22 things and you only get done 6 items, you feel like crap. Okay? And not all tasks are created equally. Okay? So here's the thing. I have a couple lists. Okay? So I normally, when I'm trying to get a lot of things done, I empty out my subconscious mind. So I write a list for every single thing that I can think of until I stop thinking of things. Okay? So that list sometimes, guys, is up to like 22 to 30 things. Okay? And then I categorize that list, okay, into my 5 impact areas. Okay? Are you guys writing this down? Okay. So I've written a list of subconscious stuff. I categorize it into my 5 impact areas. Okay? And then I have a list for miscellaneous things. Okay? And or my 5 priorities. Okay? So sometimes grocery shopping ends up on that list. Okay? So, okay. So here's the deal. So I have a running list of projects, huh?
When you said your other list that sometimes grocery shopping, is that your 6 things or is that a different list that you're talking about?
So it's, no.
All the 6.
So the 6 things that work are 6 things 100% for work.
Okay.
But in my subconscious mind, I have things like grocery shopping, right? Or have to pick up ballet shoes or something, right? Those are there. So in my list, I divide them by my 5 impact areas for my business, because that's what I'm going to create my to-do list on. Okay? And then I look and put the extra lists into the folders that they belong to, because I have a running list every single time. So like my marketing folder has a list of things that I thought of that I needed to get done. Okay? My expense folder has a list of things that I thought of to get done. My personal list is another folder. Okay? I just look at them. But my to-do list at work is 100% on work, and it's based on the highest money-making activities for the day, period, at the end. Okay? So once you have your list categorized, okay?
What did you say about 6 items or 6?
So the to-do list, so right, the goal is to get 6 items per day. Per day. 6 items per day, period. Your subconscious mind will think of however many things are on your mind. Okay? Are we clear about that? So step number 1 is emptying your brain. Step number 2 is categorizing the lists and breaking them down into your 5 business impact areas or your 5 priorities, okay? Then, the next thing from there is qualifying if you really need to do that. Is this really important, and are you the only person who can do that? So ask yourself, is this really important, and do I really have to be the person who does that? Okay? So normally, I'll start, let's say, with a list of 30. I've broken them down, and then when I ask myself those 2 questions, I'm like, okay, no, this isn't really important, okay? I take it off the list. No, I don't have to be the person who calls the title company to schedule a signing, okay? Like, there's so many little things like that you don't have to be, but I have to hold somebody accountable to doing it, so I delegate that, okay? So normally from a list of 30, I can typically get it down to 15, okay? And then in the 15, right, I'm like, what are the most important things? So, right, so let's come up with a list, guys, because this is what we're going to do. This is priority pairing. This is an actual skill, right? So let's, for the sake of this activity, come up with 10 items, okay? So in a given day, what do you have to do? So, Matt.
Prospect.
So you have to prospect, okay? Nicole, what else do you have to do?
Contact clients.
Okay, follow up with clients. Okay. Craig,
Great videos.
create videos, okay? Okay, they're doing good, I love this. Alright.
Paperwork.
Who, what did you say?
Paperwork.
Paperwork, okay. Let's be a little bit more descriptive on paperwork, because I think we can come up with it.
Listing.
So listing,
flyers,
presentation, or just
transaction.
listing? Okay, so let's say paperwork listing. Okay, what else happens in a day, Johanna?
Marketing campaign.
So marketing campaign, okay? And Johanna, what about you?
Email.
Okay, cool. Jermaine,
Make sure my open houses are scheduled.
open house schedule, okay? Okay, what else? Huh?
Market research.
Market research, okay? So is that like comps on a property for buyer? Okay. I secretly was hoping someone would say that, so that's why. Okay. Okay.
Networking.
Okay, networking. So I'm gonna call that business meeting, okay? Sorry, that's bad. That was my poor attempt at a squat.
Fire appointments and listing appointments.
Okay, fire appointment. All right, enlisting appointment. So we got 12. Alrighty. This is a really, really good list, okay? So, now here's what we do. Okay, so we go down the list, and so prospecting, okay? Would we say that prospecting is more income generating than following up with clients, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so it gets us 1 point. Do we think that prospecting is more priority than creating a video?
Yes.
Okay, I need you guys to be loud, okay? Do we think that prospecting is more important than paperwork?
Yes.
Okay. Do we think that prospecting is more important than marketing?
No.
I think it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Understand the difference.
No, prospecting is outward bound. Marketing is a post on social media. It's a birthday program.
Oh.
It's a. So now that I've qualified that, yes or no?
Yes.
So prospecting is more important. Okay, cool. Is prospecting more important than email?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Is prospecting more important than open houses?
Same.
Well, this was
Well, there's
scheduling
open
open
house
houses,
time.
right?
Combined.
Well, this was scheduling for the open house.
So prospecting is more important.
So this is outward bound. This is scheduling an open house, like preparing for your open house. Which one's more important? Well, raise of hands for prospecting. Okay, raise of hands for open house. Okay, so 2. Yeah, cool. Some of you were undecided, I don't know. prospecting versus social media. Okay. Cool. And then prospecting versus comps for a buyer. Okay. Prospecting versus a business meeting.
I would say business meeting is more. I would
Right?
say business.
It could be the same, right? So we don't say it's more important than that, okay? But we do give business meeting a check. Okay? Alright, so then is prospecting more important than a buyer appointment?
No.
No, it's buyer appointment.
Okay. Now I'm going to challenge this thought. Okay, can a buyer appointment be scheduled? Does it have to be reactive? Okay. Is it something that we can predict? Okay. Is it more important than prospecting? Okay. No. I think me personally, prospecting is the most important thing. Right? If you do it consistently, write this down. More leads solves all your problems. Okay, you got a money problem? More leads. Okay? Right? We got to focus on more leads. Okay? Now here's the deal, right? Because we are in a reactive society and a reactive business, we think that one buyer appointment is more important than all of our prospecting, right? Or we could get 5 more buyers from 2 hours of prospecting.
Yes, but this could be rescheduled too. Or this could be, let's say, planned at a different time. Just move.
I know. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that it's not going to be on the to-do list. What I'm saying is it's not more important than prospecting. Okay? This is really good. Challenge me. This is how we come up with things. But what I want to make sure is that prospecting, we know how important it is on the level of things, right? So what's going to happen, right, because this is going to win, this is going to get 11 yeses. Okay? So we think, so now we'll go down the list, right? And I'm going to do this for like 6 of them, and then you're going to see how it goes, okay? So like, follow up with clients, okay? Do we think it's more important than creating videos?
Yes.
I would say yes. Okay. Do we think it's more important than paperwork? Okay. Do we think it's more important than marketing?
Yes.
Okay. Do we think it's more important than email? Okay. Do we think it's more important than open houses? Well, setting up your open house, okay. More important than social media? Okay. More important than comps for buyer? Probably can't follow up with them if you didn't do the comps for the buyer though.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. More important than your business meeting? No. Okay. Business meeting gets 2. Okay. More important than your buyer appointment?
No,
Probably not, because you could schedule your follow-ups, right? So buyer appointment got 1 thing, okay? More important than your listing appointment?
No, this gets limited.
Probably not, yep. Okay. But we know that this is significant, okay? Create videos. Is it more important than paperwork?
Problem is, it's a marketing thing that you have, if you don't commit to scheduling it, it doesn't get done.
I'm not saying it's not going to end up on the to-do list.
Right.
What I'm saying is it going to take priority? If these are all the things you have to do, is it going to take priority?
And I think too, depending on the paper, what type of paperwork, there's so many, if it's your TC can do it, you can delegate to a
So
TC.
this was paperwork for a listing.
Okay.
So if it needs to be like in the computer or in the office, it is a listing that you're trying to enter, then that's pretty important.
I'm just saying, right, this is on your to-do list. These are the decisions you guys are having to make. Remember when I said it took you 15 minutes to decide what to do with something?
I would say then, if it's a listing paperwork, you need to get it completed and signed, then I would say it's more important
Yeah.
than create a video.
Okay, so let's vote. More important than the video, yes or no?
No.
Raise of hands.
Yes.
The paperwork's more important than the videos.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, raise your hands. I gotta make sure I get it. Okay, yeah? Cool. Alright, so then we say
Paperwork is one.
paperwork gets one. Okay, is creating a video more important than emails?
Yes.
Okay. Is creating a video more important than setting up your open house?
Probably could be
No.
part of it.
No, oh, what, no,
Could be a part.
Okay. Raise of hands for yes. Cool. So we open house gets it.
Part of my other thing, it's creating videos more.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to talk about when we go through this stuff, though. I just want you to know. So, okay, so create a video versus comps for a buyer. No. Okay. Comps for a buyer is more. Create a video over a business meeting.
This is me.
Okay, create a video over buyer appointment.
No.
Okay, create a video over listing appointment. Okay, so do you see how that only got one? Okay, it's more important than email, but that's it. Okay, so paperwork. Is paperwork more important than marketing? I would say yes, and here's why. Because it's not going to be on your to-do list every single day, right? And we're going to get to some of these things because like this video and the marketing thing are stressors for you guys. You know that they're important. I know for real, you guys don't prioritize them first before your actual like buyer comms or your listing agreement. Okay, so we just have to get real. And I know that you think that that's what I would say. If I had a rate quote, the rate quote's going number one because that's a deal I can seal, right? And it's an impactful thing that'll move the needle for me and make money for me during the day. Okay, that marketing piece is not going to earn me $1. Okay, it's fun for me. Okay, and so that's why it's prioritized to way later in the day. But it's not my important 6 to-dos. Okay. So I'm going to say paperwork's more important than marketing. Is paperwork more important than your email?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, is paperwork for a listing agreement more important than setting up your open house?
Yes.
Yes? Yeah? Okay. And is paperwork more important than social media?
Yes.
Okay, is paperwork more important than comps for a buyer?
Yes.
Okay? Is paperwork more important than a business meeting?
No.
Okay. Business meeting gets another one. Okay? Is it more important than a buyer appointment?
No.
Okay, is it more important than a listing appointment?
No.
Cool. Marketing, is it more important than email?
Yes.
Okay. Is it more important than setting up an open house?
No.
Okay. Is it more important than social media?
Since it's the same.
Probably the same thing, right? So we'll give it one. All right, is it more important than comps for buyer?
No.
Okay, is it more important than a business meeting? Is it more important than a buyer appointment?
No.
Okay, is it more important than a listing appointment?
No.
Okay. All right, is email more important than an open house, setting up an open house? Okay. Is email more important than social media?
Maybe.
I would say yes. Okay. Is email more important than comps for buyer? Okay. Is email more important than a business meeting?
No.
Okay. Is email more important than a buyer's appointment?
No.
No.
Is email more important than a listing appointment? Okay. Open house, setting up your open house is more important than social media?
Yes.
Is it more important than comps for buyer?
No.
Okay. Is it more important than a business meeting?
No.
Is it more important than a listing
No.
No.
or a buyer? Okay. All right. So, social media. Okay, we know where this is going, right? More than comps for buyer? Okay, more than a business meeting? More than a buyer appointment?
No.
More than a listing appointment? Okay. Now, comps for buyer, more important than a business meeting?
No.
Okay. More important than a buyer appointment?
No.
More important than a listing appointment?
No.
Okay. Business meeting, more important than a buyer appointment?
Yes.
Wait, you have
No.
10 lists, and you only have 9 little check marks. So,
Because not all of them. I promise, there was one that like equaled,
yeah.
like they were the same. Doesn't matter. Here's the deal. I promise you guys, the numbers don't lie. If I'm off by one, forgive me. I'm teaching a class. Okay. So, so that business meeting, is it more important than a buyer meeting? So if this is a business meeting with a builder, and you're trying to get a big account landed, is it more important than the one buyer meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say yes. Okay. And it's more important than your listing, right? Okay. Now, is a buyer appointment more important than a listing appointment?
No.
Oh, same deal, right? So that's why they don't all go, okay? So now, when we look at this whole list, right? Business meeting got the most checks. That is your most important item. So this made the list. 1. Okay, which one is the second highest? So it's prospecting, this buyer
Well, it might
appointment,
be buyer.
they're all the same. And the listing appointment. So we got, so now we've got business. And then we've got listing, buyer, prospecting. Okay. Now, we're going to do this one more time with the pairing so that we get them in the right order. Okay, so we've got it. So then follow up with clients, right? Was the next highest one, right? Or say follow up.
Paperwork.
I actually think prospecting got it. I think I stopped checking, to be honest, because I thought I remembered. But okay, so follow up, and then what's the next one?
Paperwork.
Paperwork, right? Okay, so you got your 6, okay? And I'm pretty sure prospecting is here. So it should tell you, right? So the numbers don't really lie, so it should tell you in what order, okay? Now here's the trick, guys, and this is the kicker. When I learned this statistic, I freaked out, okay? So most of us will stop here at this list, okay? 3 out of the 5 disc profiles, do you know what your disc profile is?
Yes.
Okay? So 3 out of the 5 disc personality profiles will follow a list in the order it's written. Isn't that crazy? Okay, I fall under the IC, so both of mine are in there. Okay? So it's drivers that know what's important. Okay? So now we have a to-do list. Okay? Here's what's awesome. We tackle them first thing in the morning because these are the highest priority times. Okay? But guess what? We've also scheduled time in our day, right? We have 1 hour a week for marketing. Okay? And on your marketing list where you had marketing, prepare a video, host to social media, those are 3 things on that list. And you will do what's called priority pairing, right? And figure out which is the one thing that you're going to work on, and then cross it off, and then you'll work on the next thing, and you'll work on the next thing, which is how your marketing will never go away. Okay, does that make some of you who are like, but marketing's super important, feel better? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So, okay, was this helpful? Okay, so I do this once a day at the end of my day, right? So I have a running list of things, and I constantly write a to-do list. And at the end of the day, I do this and plan for the next day. Okay, so here's what my day looks like. Okay, and because I have to maximize each and every single day. Okay, at 8 to 8:15, I'm reviewing my plan for the day that I created the night before. Okay, I also have my calendar pre-printed on my desk. Okay, and I'm writing in when I'm going to delegate time for each thing. Okay, so that's 15 minutes. So I have my to-do list. I'm looking at my calendar of already pre-scheduled stuff, and I'm fitting in the extra to-dos. Okay. Then from 8:15 to 10:15, I make my prospecting calls. I already have a list of people I'm calling. Okay. I take a break after the calls because normally I'm really high stress. They're normally cold calls, and I hate them. Okay. I don't know about you. When you're a loan officer or a loan officer calls you, be nice to them. It's very hard to do. Okay. I take a break. I normally calm down. And then at 10:30 to 11:30, I check my voicemail, I answer calls, and I check my email for emergencies. Okay? Now I have a private inbox, and my assistant, who's always checking my email, will send me my emergencies. Okay? Then 11:45 to 12:30, okay, I'm checking emails. 12:30 to 1:45, I go to lunch with an important client. Okay? 1:45 to 2:55, I'm dealing with miscellaneous things that came up on my desk. So this is the time that I have allotted for got a minute meetings. Everyone's like, oh, got a minute? Right?
Yeah.
That's when they can come in and see me. Okay?
1:52, I have a minute for you.
Yeah. And so normally, guys, like I have an extra 30 minutes right after that to just like regroup and take a breath. Okay? Because normally I'm going. Okay? And if my got a minutes run long, it eats into that 30 minutes of like rest. Okay? Then 3 p.m., right, I do my red zone meeting with my team, break up the time. Then 3:30 to 4:15, I check voicemails and call people back. 4:15 to 5:30, I work on marketing stuff, right, and I'm just writing lists of things I want to do and things I'm going to delegate for the next day. And then 5:30 to 6:30, I'm returning emails. Okay? Now, if I ever like deviate from this, the only other thing that I will do is after I go home and I've played with my kids a little bit and I'm watching TV, I continue to check emails until I go to bed, right? Because I really hate waking up in the morning to a bunch of unread emails from the day before. Okay, so that's why you get emails from me at like 10 o'clock. Okay, so that's the only thing. So I try to take up 6 hours of my day of productive, green, money-making time. Okay. Now, the only other thing that I would ask you to do is from this list, like, go back once a week and think of what initiatives am I ignoring. So marketing was on the list, I had a fire, something came up, I never worked on it. Okay, that's a thing. So here's the next thing I'm going to tell you to track, and this is what's going to go into delegation. Okay? So run the next thing. Okay? So write this down. Okay? IDS. The I stands for interruptions. And an interruption is when somebody says, got a minute, I have a quick minute, I need you, right? That's an interruption. They've interrupted you from doing what you need to do. Okay? Disruption is a fire. Angry client, you know, docs aren't at title, something, right? So, something is urgent, it's gotten your attention. Flood in a house, you know, right? And then a stopping point is you couldn't do your task because something wasn't done for you. You didn't have the tool or resources or the training. Okay? And here's what I'm going to ask. So if you stay after and you give me your contact information, right, I will send you a copy of what we use. I have them in actual like folders, but they're IDS forms. I have every single person on my team track them, including myself. And then once a week I review all of the interruptions, all of the disruptions, and all the stopping points. Okay? This is like one of the most impactful things I ever did for my business because we're in such a reactive, emotional business, we never have time. We just solve problems and we play whack-a-mole. You ever feel like you play whack-a-mole? Like you got that one, I'm getting that one, okay, that one. Right? So it happens to us. So we have to then go back and say, why did that happen to us? So an interruption, guys, is a training issue. Write that down. Disruptions are systemic issues. So something is wrong in your process or your system. Okay? And a stopping point is typically attitude related. Okay? Or you as the manager failed to do something. This is the most common I see in teams. Okay? And the problem with stopping points, if you don't address them, your number one job as a team leader or a manager is to remove obstacles for your team. Okay, that's your number one job. If your team has a ton of stopping points, they lose trust, okay? They lose focus, they're not held accountable, right? And it creates cancerous environments, okay? So delegating 1 hour a week to concentrate on all the IDSs, it feels painful, it's very annoying. I do it once a week, I make myself do it, has had so much of an impact on my business this year, okay? And I'll tell you how much of an impact. So 6 months ago, I decided to focus on key metrics and then focus on these things. March, we closed 90 loans, which is the highest in all of my coaching program for the country. It's the highest number of loans I know of anyone closing, right? And it's not because we're better, it's because we're more focused and dialed in, and we're spending less time on other things, right? I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying I don't have problems. I'm not saying, you know, it's unicorns and rainbows. But I am saying we're highly productive with the same amount of people. So I close 90 loans with 13 people. Typically it's 5 loans a person, right? We're closing a lot of loans with way less people, okay? So, alrighty, so here's the key to delegation, okay? Write this down. When you're going through your list, guys, right, so we have this list of 12 items, okay? What does not make you money? Okay? Most of the time when we delegate things, we delegate by how much we enjoy the task. I can't even tell you how many team members I've seen, the first thing they give up is prospecting, right? Because those cold calls suck. right? No one likes to get hung up on and said no to a million times, and we're like, oh yeah, you gotta earn your stripes. You start here. And then production goes down, right? Because we're the best converters. You know why? Because we care the most, right? It's our dollars on the line, right? So prospecting has got to be the last thing that we ever delegate. And if we ever delegate it, there's got to be a ton of training, and that person's got to be at minimum 80% as good as you are. Okay? So you delegate versus what does not make you money versus what does, okay? So like when you do the priority pairing, right? So this is an example of how you do that. Does prospecting make you money? Okay? Does it typically make you more money long term than a buyer appointment? Okay? So again, you would delegate a buyer appointment before you delegate prospecting. Does that make sense? So when you have lists, you do the same type of priority pairing. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, we don't have to go over that more. Okay, cool. All right, you set time once a week for training. Okay, so I go over all of the time blocking things, and then I set an hour with my operations team to go over training, and then I set an hour with my sales team to go over training, okay? I spend 5 freaking hours a week in meetings, okay? But those 5 hours that I spend in meetings, answering and training, make everyone more productive. Is it painful? 100%. Do I wish people could just read my mind? 100%. Okay? But it just is what it is. Okay? Now, here's another step. You have to explain the task, ask them to write it down, and then repeat it in their own words. Okay? Explain the task, ask them to write it down, and repeat it in their own words. Okay? This is how you catch if you have a miscommunication, yes or no.
Yes.
Like that, I was actually saying yes or no, you didn't have one, but thank you. Okay. All right, and then you're going to spend 30 minutes per day on each to-do, right? How did my business meeting go? Did I land a deal? Yes or no? Do I need a follow-up? Yes or no? Okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, that was an 8. Okay, how did my prospecting go? Right, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 6. I got distracted. How did my buyer appointment go? We signed the buyer agreement, that's 10. Okay? How did my listing appointment go? We signed a listing, that's 10, right? So we're going to quantify the results at the end of the day. Okay? And then we're going to write our follow-ups, and then again, we're going to priority pair based on the items that are remaining from the day before. Okay? So, we've talked about the science. Okay? We've talked about how to priority pair and task management. And I talked to you a little bit about delegation. Okay? Did this class provide value for you?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So here's the thing. I am not a public speaker. I am a loan officer. And my job is actually to close more deals. So if I've impacted your business in any way, if I provided you with value today, I hope that you'll consider us for your next home loan. Okay? Because that's how I stay in business, and I can teach you these awesome things. Okay? So I really, really appreciate you guys. I'm going to be here to answer questions afterwards, but thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks, guys. And then if you want the stuff, my assistant Sammy's outside, and she'll be taking names. Okay? Thank you guys so much for coming. I can't believe we had such a packed house. I thought I was going to have like 5 people. Oh, yeah. I was like, task management.
Are you I am.
Oh, thank you. Really? Okay.
Enjoy your presentation.
She's a blonde gal.